So, in today's show, what we've got coming up for you is, I should just do the introductions first, obviously, before we get going. So, this is myself, Mark C, the host. My co-host, Mark H, in the studio with me today. Afternoon, Mark. Afternoon, everyone.
Everybody. Looking forward to getting stuck in the topics on today.
Absolutely.
And also, bit of a mixed bag, bit of a Jekyll and Hyde week.
Absolutely.
Saints fans all over the place.
Definitely. So, coming up in the first half of today's show, we have our review of Saints versus Wolves, our reaction to the game. Danny Ings, an article that we've picked up on there where he's happy, healthy and home. Good, interesting article for everyone to get their teeth into there. And Saints transfer news and gossip. And that's pretty much the first half of the show today. So, we'll be back after some messages. Right, we'll be right back.
Fiesta FM Southampton 95.0 FM.
Disclaimer. The following program contains language, views and opinions that may be unsuitable for some listeners. This is not necessarily a view or judgment of Fiesta FM, its management, other hosts or advertisers. The show is for entertainment purpose only and is not intended to defame, insult or offend anybody in any shape or form whatsoever. Listeners are advised to exercise caution in their own environment when listening to the show.
Get your weekly fix everything Southampton FC with Mark C and Mark H on the Two Saints Show. Make the Two Saints Show your permanent fixture with Mark C and Mark H on Fiesta 95 FM every Thursday from 12 till 2.
Right, welcome back everybody to this afternoon's Two Saints Show. Right, getting into things today. Kicking off the show. We're starting with sorry, got a lump in my throat. Mark, do you want to take over for a sec?
Yeah,
let everyone know what we're doing first, sorry.
We're kicking off basically with our review of Saints against Wolves. The score line was Saints 2, Wolves 3. And basically we're going to give you our feelings on the game first. Then we're going to go over, Mark's basically going to go through a little bit of the match report and also some of the reactions from it.
Yeah. So, thanks for that, Mark. Sorry everyone, I've got a bit of a...
I'll kick off with my thoughts. On Saturday, I felt from the get-go it was a fairly open game. I mean, I know we went in 2-0 up, and strange one because the fans actually stood up and applauded for the first, I think it was the first time at home this season, to be honest with you. So we had that happen, and I suppose when you look at it, going in 2-0, everyone's satisfied, everyone's happy in the sense of, yeah, it's the first time we've gone in 2-0 up this season at home. But the problem for me was it was way too much of an open game, because even in the first half, Wolves were having chances, and I felt Wolves were they were tired. You know, they played United during the week, and they looked tired in the sense that when the opportunities came, there was a lot of falling over, a lot of strange misses in the first half.
Yeah, I thought that as well, Mark.
Jimenez.
Oh, wow, Jimenez, blimey.
We had the...
I lost count of how many chances he had.
We had the incident with Alex McCarthy where he came to claim a ball. Oh. He was never going to get there. I don't
know what he was thinking. I really don't.
And there was all that going on.
Yeah.
And in between all of that in the first half, let's get back to Saints.
Yeah.
We had two contenders for goal of the season.
Oh.
You know, this week we've had four contenders for goal of the season.
Four goals.
We had two contenders for goal of the season.
Yep.
You know, against Wolves, right?
4 goals worthy of winning any game.
Yeah. And the thing is the sad thing from the goals point of view was it was 2 goals, like you said, that was worthy of winning any game, and both goals happened to be on the losing side. But first of all, the the technique involved with the Bednarek goal for a central defender, that was, I mean, if you watch that back, that was pretty outstanding to be fair.
If you've got a young lad and you're trying to teach him how to volley a ball and use a special technique for certain balls that come in at certain heights and how to control them and get them on target and volley it properly, you just look at that, don't you? You just show him a video of that. Because the technique for a central defender, I said to you at the game, Mark, for a centre-half, it was positively rude. The amount of control he had on that volley and the way he did it, because he actually curled it in over the goalie, didn't he? It's a brilliant finish.
Ladies and gentlemen, just in case you didn't know, Mark went with me to the game on Saturday, right? And I'm regretting the decision already. No, I'm only joking. But so obviously there was the Bednarek goal, and then, you know, just of equal good quality, Shane Long's stoop, what I would describe as a stooping header or a dive.
Yeah.
Well, it looked more like a stooping header.
Definitely stooping. Yeah, he wasn't off his feet.
So you know, 2 goals worthy of winning the game. Unfortunately, they didn't. Like I said, I felt the defences were open 24/7 during that game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
on both sides, I would have to say.
I actually thought first half, Saints kind of nullified the Wolves' counter-attack, which obviously everyone's aware of. And I felt first half we kind of just about kept it in check. And they kept quite a good handle on Traoré first half. Second half, I don't know what happened. I don't know what was said in the dressing room, what changed. I said to Mark while I was at the game, it seemed as though Saints had altered their shape slightly second half. I don't know why. But what actually happened was Wolves had actually changed their shape. And Wolves had actually, what Wolves had done, they were quite clever, and they'd noticed in the first half that Cedric was having a slight issue with Traoré. So what actually did second half was, and I was amazed Saints didn't pick up on it at the time, they actually put Traoré up against Cedric.
Yeah.
He was either through the middle up on the right, but second half he was a lot more on Cedric's side, and you could tell it was definitely instructions to get down that flank because Cedric was having problems with him definitely. And Traoré's built like a rugby union player, Mark, as you said. So
rugby league.
To be fair, putting him up against Cedric was like putting a twiglet up against Mount Everest, wasn't it? So Cedric didn't have much of a chance, and sadly, for whatever reason, I felt Saints didn't really pick up on that. And I felt that cost us a little bit. I thought second half, we took our foot off the gas, didn't we? We were overconfident, and we didn't come out and play the same way second half as what we did in the first.
I know that people have issue, you know, we all have players that we prefer and stuff like that. But to be fair, you know, you knew that the game was fairly open in the first half, and it was, you know, the score sort of maligned the match. You know, it wasn't a true reflection of the game because, as I say, defences weren't on top.
No, definitely not.
And everything else. And I think, from my point of view, I'd have made a switch at half time. And even though people say, you know, he's slow, you know, he's not a tempo player, if you like. I probably would have brought Romeo and it would have shored it up a little bit because he would have got the foot in. He would have, you know, tackled. Yeah, I felt
like you, Mark. I thought he should have come on at 2-1, but he probably should have gone before that. But I thought he should have come on at 2-1 definitely. I thought by the time it was 2-2, it was too late to bring him on. Although you probably still would have brought him on, but I thought at 2-2 it's too late by that point. But I mean, for whatever reason, Ralph's obviously decided to go for it at 2-1 and then went for it at 2-2, and I just thought he got it wrong.
The problem that I had, and I alluded to it at half time, was if they scored, like I said to you, I said, fine if they don't score the opening 15 minutes of the second half. I said, because the order will have gone out of them where they've been given, you know, not, you know, been spoken to and said keep doing the good things and all this sort of thing at half time, and they know that if they come out and they score in that opening 15 minutes, right, then it's game on, right, and they get adrenaline.
Absolutely.
Because you're running on adrenaline.
Well, the thing is as well, I think I actually said to you, Mark, at the point where it's 2-0, so up until Wolves get that first goal, and just before they score the first goal, they were starting to look tired, weren't they? And then obviously they get.
I wouldn't say that. What I would have said.
Well, it's starting to look slightly less effective, maybe.
if you see out the first 15, 20
Yep.
minutes in the second half, after they've had a talking to,
Yep.
so to speak, right? Then they start to tire because But as soon as you, in that first 15 minutes for me, given that they played Man United on the midweek, right? You know, I'm sat there and I'm thinking, just see out the first 15 minutes,
Yep.
and it'll go. They'll lose interest because it's 2-0. But the thing was out they came, 53rd minute,
Yep.
scores a goal, all of a sudden, game on.
Oh, yeah.
And I was looking around and I'm thinking, we've lost it. At 2-1, I was sitting there going, we've lost
The
it.
sad thing is, Mark, wasn't it? I mean, I said it to you. The second that goal hit, the second the ball hit the back of the net, the Saints players' heads dropped, didn't they? Straight away. And you thought, you've been doing well recently. It's only a goal. You've only conceded one. You're still leading. Why have your heads dropped? And for me, that was a little bit surprising because it's not the way they've played recently, is it? Even when they've had a setback, they haven't. The heads haven't dropped. But
See, I'm not convinced of that at home at all. I still think there's a massive issue at home.
Absolutely.
And I, you know, people have come up with different suggestions, which I feel is nonsense, basically.
Well, I was at the game with you, Mark, and it certainly isn't down to the atmosphere.
No.
You can't say that. It's definitely not down to the atmosphere. The atmosphere wasn't negative.
No.
The fans were definitely behind the
They were
team.
definitely behind
Well, to be fair, Hoy Bears even come out and said that since the game.
Yeah.
That the fans were behind them, and we were. And I would agree with that. I think St Mary's, to be fair, at half time was absolutely rocking. Absolutely rocking at half time.
Well, I haven't seen a reaction like that.
No.
At half time, everybody stood up.
I was thinking every single person I could see around us was on their feet. Yep. And yeah, so at half time, you're thinking St Mary's is rocking. What on earth happened in the change room at half time? I don't know. What on earth happened before they came out after half time?
But it was
a different team, wasn't it?
Traore for me was getting loads of joy
Yeah.
down that right hand side.
absolutely.
And I didn't feel, you know, I know that there was Saints fans out there that was annoyed
Yeah.
because it showed a little bit of disunity on Saturday, you know, for the penalty.
Yeah.
Because obviously there was a difference of opinion between, you know, Jack Stevens' vocal. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say Cedric's particularly vocal.
No.
You know, and Jack Stevens, I kind of felt hung, you know, Cedric out to dry a little
Yeah,
bit.
just a tad.
And I felt, you know, a bit like you, I felt, you know, he's exposed down there.
Yeah.
He's manfully doing what he can do.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, it was Jack that gave the penalty away. It wasn't
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Cedric.
No, I mean, I watched the replay and it's definitely Jack Stevens that fouls him.
Yeah.
If anything, Cedric barely touches him, to be fair. But no, definitely Jack Stevens brought him down.
There's loads of different interpretations about this handball, though, isn't there? And
Yep.
I mean, I know you have a take on it.
Yep.
I'm not. I have to say, hearing everybody's opinion on it, I'm none the wiser,
Okay.
to be honest.
Yep.
I know it is true what you say about the ruling. I mean, if you want to tell the listeners.
Yeah, so basically,
how you see it.
So obviously the handball ruling is obviously if you gain an advantage from a handball and it leads to a goal, that it's ruled out. Okay,
Yes.
but there are certain things that govern whether it's ruled out or not. And obviously the reason it went to VAR is because they suspected there was a handball.
Yeah.
There was a handball. The issue with that is it actually occurred at the first phase of play. So there was basically 3 phases that led to the goal.
Yeah.
So in the first phase of play, when the handball actually occurs, Traore has handballed it, but it's actually in his own half.
It's in his own
and because
half.
it's in his own half,
Yeah.
that's why they ruled it out.
Yeah.
If it had been in Saints' half, they may well have gone back to it and said, yeah, okay. There was an advantage gained, obviously, because they did score from it, but it's so far back in the phase of play, that's the reason they've ruled it out.
Really.
Because it doesn't really, because obviously there were other phases after
it
that.
sounds a bit like it was last season, right? Liverpool beat us 3-1.
Yep.
And their first goal, to me, they were saying it was different phases of play,
Yep.
but to me it looked like one phase,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah.
as I say,
So yeah, it's the initial. Obviously, when he initially picks it up, it's hit his hand, but it's in his own half. And from where we sat, to be fair, it actually looked like he was marginally offside. So I remember saying to you, I was a little bit surprised they didn't go to VAR for offside rather than handball in the build-up. But obviously they went for a handball in the build-up because that's what they figured was there, and they felt that was a clear and obvious error. Well, there definitely was a handball, but it was in his own half. That's why it wasn't given. And I know a lot of fans were frustrated by that. A lot of fans were annoyed by that. But as you said yourself, Mark, if it's a handball, it's a handball. If it isn't, it isn't. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. If it's not, it's not. If it's a VAR decision, you have to accept it. You know, whether you agree with it or not. Initially, I don't think we necessarily... Myself, personally, when I initially looked at it, obviously, as you know, I didn't initially think it was a penalty, but we both then accepted it was.
Well, I've got to say, the rules on VAR for me have changed as the season's progressed, right? And that's how the confusion...
Yeah, I also wanted to point out as well, let's not forget that the referee...
Out the window for obvious.
Yeah, absolutely, but let's not forget that this was referee Darren England's Premier League debut, first game, you know, and he actually pointed for a corner, and VAR actually said no, it's a penalty, and it was a clear penalty. We couldn't argue about it. Yeah, no, we saw it, and it certainly was.
The penalty was a penalty. There's no dispute about that. But Darren England, right? I
thought he had a poor game.
I want people to do something, right? If you're listening to the show, right? Because I decided, Darren England, never heard of him, wanted to find out more about him, right? So I went onto the wiki page. He isn't in the group of Premier League referees. Where he is, if you go to the wiki page, is he's in the group that says video referee analysis assistant, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he's in that group. So obviously he's been promoted.
Yeah.
But... why is it, and I keep saying this, and I have noticed it over the years, right? When referees are making a comeback because they've been suspended for whatever reason, right? They always come back at St Mary's, okay? If a new person like Simon Hooper, for example, he's a recent new appointment to the referees list, Simon Hooper.
Yeah.
He actually refereed one of his first games down at St Mary's as well when he came to the elite group of referees. I was just curious, I say that because we had the incident where Mark Clattenburg, after the contretemps with John Terry, and I don't really want to go into that, right?
Yep.
But his game back after that sabbatical was at St Mary's against Norwich, Whether it's because they think to themselves, we want to ease them in rather than give them a high appointment game. We'll send them down St Mary's. They're not as intimidating to the referees down. But there does seem to be that perception when it comes to appointments. Maybe I'm judging it wrong, but you make your own decision.
Yeah, I mean, I felt. To be fair to him, and I don't want to slaughter the referee. I don't want to give him too much hard time. But I thought, okay, I get it. It's his first Premier League game. He probably didn't want to make the headlines, but I thought he was really lenient with the Wolves players. They got away with absolute murder. The number of times they've thrown themselves down, it was the slightest little touch, and it was ridiculous. I mean,
some of the time
fair play to them because it was quite clearly a tactic and it worked for them because they got the result out of it. But I was amazed how much the ref let them get away with because it was awful.
What I would say is certainly in the first half, right. A lot of the falling down seemed to be due to tiredness, right? It did seem to be due to tiredness.
It looked that way anyway.
And he was being lenient, even I would say, and I don't like particularly criticising officials because it's a tough job. It is a tough job. But on Saturday, you could see he was aware that they had played during the week. Right?
Absolutely.
And he probably sitting there thinking they're a bit knackered, I'll give them a little bit of leniency. But even having said all of that, and I did say it was mainly in the first half for me he was doing it, right? But having said all of that, Mark, I thought Wolves were good value for the win.
Yeah, I mean, I did say to you, in fairness, if we had got a draw, I think we probably would have robbed them a little bit because they clearly deserved to win it.
Yeah.
And I did say that to you.
I've looked back at it now and I'm thinking to myself, actually, no, they deserved to win the game.
Take nothing away from him. I mean, we weren't good enough second half. They were far better than us. They were up for it a lot more second half. If anything, we actually looked like we were the team that should have been tired. But there you go. So, I think that's probably wrapped the Saints v Wolves game up quite nicely just ahead of the news. So we will
once we come back, we will do the reactions or some of the fallout articles from the game.
Absolutely. Right, welcome back everybody. So we're just going to go through some of the reaction from the Saints versus Wolves game. And the first article was obviously on the BBC Sport website, as usual. Just basically said, Mexican striker Raul Jimenez scored twice. Wolves magnificent came from 2-0 down to win at in-form Southampton. Saints looked set for 6th victory in 7 when Jan Bednarek hooked in, Shane Long headed home for the first of the season. So the reaction from that was... Oh no, that's actually skipped to a different page, so apologies to everyone on that one. So the reaction was... a popular post-match question was actually asked of Espirito Santo, and it was, what did you say to them at half-time?
Okay, and what was the response?
There wasn't actually... So there wasn't actually anything suggested at all in the article as to what he even responded with, so that's a strange one.
I can tell you that. Basically, when he was asked the question, they turned around and they said, just keep doing what you're doing. But I... From the Saints side of things, because I want to move off the actual using the match report now. I want to move off that.
Yep, got it.
Basically, of the Saints articles, the one that I picked up on most was, Højbjerg. Højbjerg actually complimenting the fans that they were behind the team.
Yeah, you had so just a few of them.
That was self-evident.
Obviously, Ralph Hasenhüttl criticised VAR, which obviously he didn't do at the fans forum recently. He praised it, but he criticised it on this occasion. He basically said they need to learn from the defeat, and then Højbjerg said the crowd were behind us, which is the one you're alluding to, Mark. So he basically said praise the atmosphere at St Mary's following the defeat to Wolves on Saturday. He noted how the crowd at St Mary's helped the team get off to a flying start. I think people felt free, people felt good. With the crowd behind them, they were very, very excited. This is what we need to keep growing. There's a really good feeling, a good atmosphere. People and everybody are very happy to work hard to do what's necessary. That's a great feeling and it's working. So that's nice to hear. It's nice to know that the fans are making a difference. We've always said they will. Just give them something to watch, and they are now.
I'm interested to know what Ralph's comments were about the VAR then.
Absolutely. So what he actually said was, this is quite good. So he obviously criticised VAR after Southampton collapsed, as they put it in the Echo. That seems a little bit harsh. I wouldn't say it was much of a collapse, but it was kind of, they obviously dropped the ball a little bit. So he basically said, first I must say congratulations to Wolves for the second half. They showed how you can turn a table, even if you're far away from getting something after the first half. It'd be easy to accept if the second goal didn't happen like it did. As everyone knows, I'm a big fan of VAR, but the final decision in such a moment should be by the referee. I spoke with him and it was absolutely right that he didn't decide for a penalty because he saw Cedric was in front of him and he couldn't go through to the ball. Yeah, unfortunately, Ralph, it was actually Jack Stevens that came in from the other side that committed the foul.
Committed the foul, yeah.
Not Cedric.
I mean, the other thing that I want to say just on that point where he's saying it's the referee that should be making the decision.
He also said, yes, it was a foul, but Johnny had no chance to get to the ball in that moment, so that was the reason it was decided by the referee not to give the penalty. I then asked him why he didn't look at the screen. He said he can't do it. He can only do it if it was for a red card or something similar, or something like that. It's dangerous if the final decision in such a moment is not taken in the ground. That's what I said to him, and that's something we have to think about.
That did interest me because
it was a crucial moment for the team, and mentally we've absolutely lost our way.
There was the directive. There was the directive where earlier during the week they had turned around and actually encouraged referees to go and look at the screens, which is what they're there for. And I think we had 2 maybe at the weekend that did. I don't know what the comeback was for the midweek games, but again, if you're getting a directive and you're not sure, why is the screens not being used?
Absolutely.
But then similarly, I think from that article that Ralph was talking about, I just feel that the referees now use VAR as a safety net.
Absolutely. In
the sense that if I don't catch it, don't worry, VAR will make the decision for me.
Well, also said
they're not actually, there's a degree of not officiating there for me, but.
So obviously what I was talking about earlier, VAR also reviewed the build-up to the winning goal before deciding not to penalise Traoré for a handball at the halfway line. He was actually just inside his own half, to be fair, before his excellent assist. And he said of that, in that moment they stood with the decision, said Hasenhüttl. Again, if you're not 100%, look at the screen and you can decide it better. The referee's in the game, he knows the duels, he knows how tough the game is in that moment and can handle it better if he makes the decisions. That's the only thing that's hard for me to understand at the moment. I want to know why the referee doesn't take the decision by himself. Because our message before the season was it has to be clearly wrong if you want to overrule it.
Yeah, but like I said, I've already said on the show today, you know, the whole VAR thing seems to have changed as the season's gone on, because it isn't clear and obvious, which is what the directive was at the start of the season.
Obviously, the only other comments Ralph made was the fact he said they have to learn from the defeat. He said that we're critical of ourselves. We made a good first half, had a chance to go equal to them on points. This is the gap that's still between the two squads. We have to accept, we have to learn, and another time we're in such a situation, we have to do it better. Yeah. Because of the second half, we didn't reserve to get something because we didn't play well enough against such a strong side. Can't really argue with that. They put Troy Orey in the centre, so it was very often 2 versus 2. Well, actually, it was mainly 1 versus 1. It was him against Cedric 99% of the second half, to be fair. We both picked up on that.
It did look like a splendid isolation.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of as if the whole team had gone, yeah, you do with him, Sid. You'll be all right. And Cedric's going, help me, I'm drowning here. Yeah, that's kind of how it was. It's almost as if he was going to throw a hand up and go, come on, help. Yeah, but it would have been quite comical if he'd done that. So anyway, all he said was, must be a little better closing in the number 6 position, especially the third goal. Didn't defend well, and this was a defensive lapse. Can't argue with that.
No.
So that pretty much sums up all the remarks there, pretty much. I think that's covered all of it.
Yeah.
Get your weekly fix everything Southampton FC with Mark C and Mark H on the Two Saints Show.
Welcome back, everyone. Right, it was tuned from the Jam and in the City, and we certainly are.
Have you heard that for?
And so is one of our own, Danny Ings, who we'll get to shortly. Just to remind everyone, the ways to get in contact with us at the moment are via the WhatsApp, which is 07493 819 688. That number again, 07493 819 688. That's for WhatsApp. Get in touch with us. Give us your thoughts on the show, or anything to do with the show, or any of the topics we're covering today. Get involved, because we can't do the show without you. Obviously, your input is very important to us. And also the studio phone number 02381980073. That's 02381980073. The studio Gmail, which is fiesta95studio@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at FiestaFMUK, Instagram FiestaFMUK@gmail.com, and also the Two Saints Show on Facebook and Twitter. So check out our pages, check out the things we've been doing on there, and there we go. That's the way to get in contact and get involved today. Right, Mark.
Also, just to let the listeners know, all our shows, right, from our very first show up till now, are on SoundCloud.
So that's
got a link up on our different social media.
So that those shows are available from the first show we did right up to last Thursdays, I do believe.
Correct.
So we're all up to date on those. So there was an article, Mark, with regards to Danny Ings being healthy, happy and home. Now, obviously, I'd had chats with Mark about Danny Ings at the start of the season, and I said that I felt as though I'd been monitoring things, and it looked as though Danny Ings had been working quite hard over the summer on his fitness. Looked as though he'd been looking after himself, and I was quite looking forward to the start of the season and seeing him hopefully have a good old run in the team and hopefully score plenty of goals.
Yep.
Which Mark was quite sceptical about, I must admit.
Yeah.
But obviously, it turned out that he had been looking after himself. He's been on quite a run, Mark, hasn't he? So I'm obviously quite chuffed at the fact I was actually right. And it's nice to be proved right for a change. It doesn't happen very often. So it's good to see him in a rich vein of form. It's good to know he's happy at home and he's healthy. And obviously, he was from Southampton originally, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Released from Saints Academy. But saying he's quite happy at home.
Road, Netley,
his family, obviously, Netley, etc. So he's really happy to be here, which is great. Obviously, he's had his career blighted for a couple of seasons by the injuries he's picked up. He picked up an ACL at Liverpool and then a cartilage problem as well. So he didn't have a good run of it. And when he did finally play for Saints, he had a big issue with his hamstring and blisters because he'd not played for so long. But he seemed to go away in the close season, went to Los Angeles to a training camp there, did another training camp with one of his former Bournemouth teammates, Alex Parsons. Went out to the US, seemed to work really hard.
Also,
it was the same place Nathan Redmond went.
It was. I was just about to say, it was the same training camp that Nathan Redmond went to the previous summer, and also accompanied Danny out there this summer.
Yeah, and I certainly agree with something in the article in the fact that his ability to score goals has never been in doubt. It was just a case of whether or not his knees could take it. Now, we all know Charlie Austin's knees were gone and they couldn't take it, could they? But Danny Ings quite clearly has better knees than Charlie Austin and can quite clearly do the job, which is nice to see, Mark. Obviously, he's heavily tipped to return to the England squad. And the way he summed it up himself was, I'm just extremely happy at the moment. And I think that sums it up. We've all seen it. We saw the knee slides and the puffed out cheeks at Pompey.
And
Everyone chanting he's one of our own, and he seems to be thriving on the support from the crowd,
I'm
doesn't
just pleased that he is happy, he's responsive to the supporters,
Yep.
who obviously he is one of our own.
he? Yeah.
And long may this rich vein of form
Absolutely,
continue.
absolutely.
And it is good to see, him being able to play with a smile on his face, because it must have been frustrating
Yep.
during his time
Absolutely.
at Liverpool with the injuries he had.
Yep.
He was never able to show that
Absolutely.
he was the potent goal
Absolutely.
scorer that he was when he was at Burnley and places like that.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, long may it continue for us.
And for anybody who has
his
actually,
goals is the factor for also
Well, couple
pushing
of-
us up the table.
I've actually had a little look at his goals and games, etc., stuff like that. Compared it to other players, etc. So I've looked at it. 45 games for Saints, 21 goals.
Yeah, that'll do me.
And also, the only player who's reached the target that Danny Ings has hit already in his number of appearances, the only player who hit that target quicker than Danny Ings was one Marion Pahars.
Yeah.
So obviously, anybody who's listening, anybody who's criticised the amount of money the club has spent on Danny Ings or Danny Ings himself, Marion Pahars is the only Saints player who's reached that target quicker. So that's 20 goals. And Danny Ings has done 21 in 45 appearances. Marion did, I think, 20 in roughly 44, or something along those lines.
All I
That's
would
quite a
say-
good player to compare him to, isn't it? Really, in that respect.
All I would say about Danny Ings, and I'm anything but honest and fair.
Yeah.
As Mark said, when he first came, I had misgivings because I felt that we were getting basically an injured player, right?
Yeah.
And I think the first season sort of bore that out because he'd play a game and then you wouldn't see him for 5 games,
Yep.
and then he'd play another game and stuff like that. And he's proved me wrong. I mean, I did say that at the start of the season we'd probably see the best of him because it was me that actually said
Yep.
to you he was away in the training camp with Nathan Redmond
Yep.
in the summer.
Yep.
And initially when we signed him, I had misgivings. I thought £20 million, obviously that was Les's parting gift.
Yep.
Slightly tongue-in-cheek there.
Yeah, just a bit.
Pick that up. But, that was his parting
Yep.
gift to the Saints.
Yep.
And it's proved that his particular
Yep.
transfer, unlike many others, has proved to be a godsend really for Saints. So
Yeah, and his actual lifestyle away from the club currently is very, very dissimilar to a lot of Premier League players in the fact that he walks his dog on the beach locally,
mucks about with
plays
his dog.
guitar, and is studying for an economics degree in his spare time. So, there's a lot of footballers can't sit there and say, well, actually, I walk my dogs on the beach, play guitar, and I'm studying for economics degree.
I just
Not
wanna
many Premier
say-
League players can say that.
I just want to say one thing though. If you think that's impressive, Stuart Armstrong, law degree.
Yep. Yep. So I think what sums it up brilliantly is this little bit in the advert where it says, it's joy at now being home near to his family. They grew up in Netley, which is 4 miles from St Mary's Stadium, and the talisman for the club supported as a boy is clear to see.
Yes.
Witness his tongue out knee slide celebration after bagging at Wolves. His gleeful embrace.
Portsmouth.
Yeah, his gleeful embrace with James Ward-Prowse after netting against Norwich, or the I love this, or the grin on his face after his semi-Letizia effort to open the scoring against Tottenham. Then there's the puffed out cheeks and steely glare that followed the first of this hero making 2 goals in the 4-0 Carabao Cup win at South Coast rivals Portsmouth. Made even better by the fact he did a knee slide right in front of the Pompey fans. Absolutely brilliant, Danny, well done.
It was actually right in front of me.
And
mate,
you as well.
well.
He did it twice, didn't he? At either end, I think. It's no wonder he ran down towards the Saints fans so quickly after the
Just in case you're confused,
brilliant.
people, for that game I was in
You were.
the Portsmouth end, unfortunately, but obviously I was supporting.
Yeah,
Saints.
Mark can verify that Danny Ings did actually knee slide towards the Portsmouth fans at that end and then promptly got up and ran back the other end quite quickly.
Yeah. Although he did notice that us along the front there were Saints fans, and he did acknowledge
He did,
it.
he did. And he also said, one of the quotes from Danny was, I'm here and enjoying my football again. I feel absolutely loved by the fans of my team, so all of that helps all together. Any striker will tell you, when you're enjoying football and having fun, it brings out the best in you. Well, it certainly brought out the best in him, and long may it continue. It's great to see, Danny. Keep looking after yourself. Ralph, keep wrapping him in cotton wool if you have to.
Don't be wanting to move anywhere. You're happy at home.
And if you, just one little thing, Danny, if you do get the opportunity in the game and Shane needs to get a goal and you've got an opportunity to lay one on for him, lay one on for him.
We'll talk about that later. That was crafty, Mark. But yeah.
But anyway, so on from there, we're moving on. The next topic for today is actually the Saints transfer news and gossip.
Right, okay.
So, we'll start with... There was actually an interesting article that was in the catchphrase of what was the point, which was Josh Sims going back to Red Bull New York.
Well,
interesting.
I think the thing is one of my favourite things from this whole thing about him going back, and we start with this because obviously it is transfer news. He has gone back to Red Bull, people. But one of the things that did make me smile, as you know, I'm not a great follower of social media, and I'm not on Twitter. One other stuff, but not Twitter. And one of the things that I liked was one of the Saints fans tweeted, that wasn't supposed to happen. He's meant to lay on an assist for the game on the 1st of February at Liverpool, which did make me laugh and smile at the same time. You know?
Absolutely.
But to me, it's the thing is he needs game time.
Yeah.
He's not featuring in the squad for league games. Right, he's been eligible since the 1st of January.
Yep.
And he hasn't featured, right, apart from he was on the bench for the Huddersfield third round FA Cup tie.
Yep.
And he didn't come on. Surprisingly, he didn't come on. And
surprisingly.
If he isn't getting the game time, yes, he needs to go elsewhere.
Yep.
But I question whether... I'm just worried, Mark, right? And you know where I'm going with this, right? I'm just worried. He's 22 now, right? And again, it goes back to the Saints' philosophy with under 23s is to ply it with 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds.
Yep.
Get them developed at a higher level. But the thing is they're doing that, right? And the thing is, we have players that are in and around the first team squad that aren't even getting competitive games of football. And what my argument is I'm only saying occasionally, you know, give them a game of football in the under 23s for to keep their fitness up and keep them, because I think it's difficult to be motivated if you're not involved in some way, shape or form. Doesn't matter what level it is, but if you're not involved in some way, shape or form in some sort of match, you know, it's difficult. But he's gone out on loan, and my issue is, you know, I said this before, we had a situation with a player, Lloyd Isgrove. Now, I'm not saying he was the most blessed player I've ever seen, but he was at our club till he was nearly 25. You're sat there thinking to yourself, and he wasn't really carving out a career for himself. You know, and I worry that Josh Sims, you know, he'll get to that stage where he hasn't done enough development, and he gets to an age where he should be playing much more regularly. You know, and 20, you know, getting to near 25 is too late to make a decision. You need to make decisions on whether the person's actually going to make the breakthrough or not. For me, sooner than that. But I'm sure
we've had
people have got other views on it.
We've had this discussion about other players. Jack Stevens was one we talked about. You know, we said given his age and stuff, you'd think he'd developed a bit more by now. Seems as though he's come on in the last few games a little bit. He's developed a little bit more.
But the thing is,
you know, we sort of...
I'm talking more about players where their growth is being stunted because they're not being either exposed to playing in the under 23s.
Absolutely.
Or you know, they're in and around the first team squad, but they're not getting the opportunity in the first team. You know, people like Harrison Reed and people like that, who made the initial breakthrough.
Yeah.
And then rather than sending them out on loan and doing it while the career's on the up sort of thing,
Yeah.
we retained them. You had
Absolutely.
an opportunity
Yep.
to go to. But anyway, so enough of that.
Yep.
Move on to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's obviously just summed up the Josh Sims one. The next one on the list is actually moving across from the States, coming over towards Turkey. And we're referring to, obviously, Mario Lemina, saying he'd like to extend his stay at Galatasaray.
Yeah. This will overlap with the next one, which
Yep.
is Oriol Romeu.
Absolutely. I was just about to say that.
What was said about
Yep.
him. But, right, he has said, and this is Lemina we're talking about,
Yeah.
he has said that he would like to stay at Galatasaray.
He has.
And my take on that is, when you have players saying things like that, I tend to think he doesn't want to come back.
Yeah.
Right? And if he doesn't want to come back, if you can do the deal at a reasonable price where both parties are happy,
Yep.
and I would suggest he might be taking a bit of a cut in the wages to go to Turkey. Talented footballer, threw his, the baby out with the bathwater.
Yep.
And you just sort of think to yourself, well, if you want to stay there, because I read that as he wants to stay there, he doesn't want to play for Southampton Football
Yeah, I'd
Club
agree
in the
with that.
future, and it's probably best for both parties if he moves on.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the best move for both if he can get a permanent move there. They've obviously been given the chance to sign him for 16 million. It's also been claimed they'd be open to the prospect of re-signing him on another loan deal. I don't think Saints really want another loan deal. And given the fact that he expressed his desire to leave St Mary's in the summer, it's quite hard to see a way back for him under Hasenhüttl, to be fair. But also the fact that Ward-Prowse and Højbjerg seem to have developed quite a strong partnership in the middle. And Romeu, probably, to be fair, a lot of people would say is probably adequate cover.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you were to lose Romeu, that's a different thing completely.
Yeah, and as we're going to move on to the next, because we're going to cover the two at the same time here, because there's a plus and a minus going on here.
But obviously, there has been talk that Oriol Romeu has been linked to Celta Vigo in a £10 million deal. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened in this window, and we're led to believe that Saints aren't interested in letting that happen. Which, to be fair, as I said somebody the other day, I can't remember who I said it to, but if you allow one of your defensive midfielders to leave without any adequate cover to back that up, that's a really bad move. It's a very silly move, and I'm kind of glad they've said, no, we're not doing it.
No, but the thing is that will only be a caveat to the summer, right? So at the end of the day, they've covered themselves. Everybody's in agreement with it. Where you sit there and you go, there's no cover. There was the question mark about, could we bring Harrison Reed back from Fulham if he was to go to Celta Vigo in this window? As far as I'm aware, there's no callback clause. So, and to be fair, like I said to you this week, you know, he hasn't been he hasn't played for Fulham in the first team for the last 6 weeks. So you know, you're bringing somebody back who in effect is a little bit ring rusty. I'm glad the club. I mean, I'm not glad. It's because it's an obvious decision to me. I mean, I would have thought it would have been kamikaze to turn around and sell him in this window. I think it will happen in the summer. And this is why it's even more disturbing that Lemina came out and said what he said, because you would have thought if Romeu goes in the summer, there is a way back for Lemina.
Yeah, possibly.
But now that he's come out and said he wants to stay in Galatasaray, for me, you know, you move both out in the summer.
Absolutely.
You know, if Celta Vigo wants to deal with Romeu, and Romeu's been a fantastic servant. I'm a big fan.
125 appearances.
He conducts his personal life in the right manner. And it's hot. You know, the thing for me is Romeu. Sometimes in football, for me, it's more to do with the human being. And you know, more importantly, you know, great footballer though he is, he's an even better human being.
Yeah, 100%.
And you
I'd agree with
can't
that.
always say that about footballers.
No, very true.
But when I read some of the social media that he does do, and him and the wife are away in Africa building schools for, disadvantaged kids or whatever it may be, right? And you read things like, on an international weekend, you've got some of our players are out in Saudi Arabia or wherever it is, and he's with his wife climbing Snowdonia.
Yep.
You're sort of sat there, you're going, he's definitely different gravy.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah. I saw those pictures of Romeo international break. He was away in the Brecon Beacons climbing mountains.
that
Great,
was
fantastic,
it,
absolutely brilliant. Yeah, which is fantastic. So moving on from there to another player in the Saints fold at the moment who's been linked quite heavily with Leeds. The fact that Saints remain unmoved in their stance regarding Shay Adams. Leeds, for some reason, they've been knocked back twice already. I think they've now been knocked for the third time. Get the message. Saints are not letting him go.
There's a journalist.
They're not letting him go.
I think, and the thing is it's a journalist who's managed to build up a bit of a following because of this story, right?
Yep.
I think his name's Phil Hay, and I might be wrong, but I believe that he has a link to the Yorkshire Evening Post, right? And he has changed tack in recent days, right? But my goodness, right? I mean, how many different ways can you say no? And Saints must be exhausted, and Ralph Hasenhüttl, every time he's having to go, we're not playing ball. No, we're not playing ball.
No.
I mean, the latest one was that they were willing to pay a big loan fee till the end of the season.
A sizable loan fee.
And then 20 million, if Leeds got up in the summer. And you're sat there and you're thinking, but you're missing the whole point, right? Because if Danny Ings gets it, heaven forbid, right? But if Danny Ings gets injured, or even Shane Long gets injured, right? You've got him or Michael Omofemi.
That's it.
And for me, right, I mean, this is just a personal point of view, right? Michael Omofemi's fantastic, but can you use, because he's quick, right? Can you use him over a sustained period of games? No, you can't.
Nope.
He's not that kind of player, right? Whereas Shay Adams, can you use him over a sustained number of games?
Yep.
Yes, you can.
Well, not only that, Mark.
Because one of the criticisms I have about him and Danny Ings playing up front together is Danny Ings and him make very similar runs, so you're getting duplication there.
Yep.
But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think they play to his strength when he does play Adams, to be fair. But, that may change. But, I mean, for me as well, not only that, the under-23s, there's nobody there ready to step up.
No.
So you can't even say, it's not an issue because we've got somebody under-23s who's capable, because there just isn't.
I mean, they have Dan Lulu, they have Christian Norton, both of which, they have sort of decent, hope for.
Yep.
But there's no one there at the minute that, as you say, would be able to step up. So
absolutely,
you're left with, you've 4 senior strikers there at the minute.
Yeah, definitely.
And you would say 2 of them aren't really senior, because
that's right.
Shay Adams is still waiting for his first goal, and like I said, you're not going to be able to play Michael Omofemi over a sustained number of games,
So, moving on from there, there's an interesting one, considering we've had conflicting reports. We've had Ralph saying, nope, don't need anyone at the moment. Saints fans going, well, Cedric's injured, we need some players now. And we're going to sign somebody, we're not going to sign somebody. Joachim Mahler's available, 7.5 million. But we've now been linked with Matty Cash of Notts Forest in a £15 million deal. But apparently it's us and AC Milan that have apparently lodged respective inquiries.
Listeners, as you know, we are duty bound to bring you everything in a week, over the week, that happens at Saints and things that are rumoured and transfer gossip and everything else. Let me just nip this one in the bud, right? And I'll stake my reputation on this one, right? Why would we sign Matt Cash? Now, I understand that he is an English right back, but £15 million, right? right? When we know that the budget is limited at the club
Yep.
for the January transfer window, even if they were to do any business, and
Yep.
we're not saying they are,
Nope.
right? But you've got someone like Joachim Mahler at Genk, where he is. I mean, the buy, and this is bona fide. They're saying the buy-in would be around 7.5 million,
Yep.
right? So why would you not buy someone like that,
Absolutely.
or the other lad that's playing in Belgium, the Portuguese lad?
Well, the thing is as well,
who's
Mark.
round about the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is as well, Jan Valerie's coming back from injuries, we know, so we don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back, so there's that option. But also, why would you be looking at somebody for £15 million when it's already been reported, we don't know how accurately, it's been reported Saints looked at Kyle Walker-Peters as an option, as a loan
Or a
option,
loan deal.
or Joachim Mahler on a permanent for £7.5 million. Because I've got to be honest, Mark, if I looked at it and Saints went out and signed Matty Cash for £15 million when Joachim Mahler's available for 7.5, I'd be mortified.
Yeah,
I'd be mortified.
yeah.
Because I'd look at Joachim Mahler and go, do you know what, he's a better option. International as well.
To be honest with you, I don't think the club are looking at Matty Cash, because if that's the fee, they're going to try and maximise. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just speaking spitballing really, but
Yeah.
you would sit there and you would think, if there's limited cash available, they'll want to stretch that
Yeah.
as much as they can, and you would hope that maybe it is a thought. I know all the focus are on fullback.
For me as well, you've got to
The
do your homework.
thoughts are that-
For me as well, you've got to do your homework as a journalist, because what is the sense in a championship side saying, yeah, he's an absolute key player for us, he's just penned a new deal till 2023, we're going to sell him for 10 million? I just don't see it.
And I have to say, when I read that we're in for him with, I think it's Inter Milan,
We know we know where he's going then.
I thought, you sure this isn't a reporter and an agent getting
Yeah,
together for
yeah.
a bit of a plug, you know?
It's
I want to
crazy.
up his wages because I'm getting me cut, you know? But
Yeah.
as I say, no, I just don't see it. I don't see it at all.
Yep. Right, same the next one is a bit of a strange one as well. So apparently we're preparing a sweep for Bright Osai Samuel
Yeah,
from QPR, their winger.
This is only strange because I'm not saying that he isn't someone that would fit the remit, because you sit there and you look at
Yeah.
what he's actually done, albeit that it's in the Championship.
Yep.
22. Personally, it would be a bit of a surprise. I wouldn't be against it.
Yep.
But it would be a bit of surprise given what we know, and the definites that we know is supposedly that we're looking at full backs in this window,
Yeah.
right? Possibly a centre half, but
Yeah.
you know, so the fact that we're looking at an attacker who's more of a wing kind of player, interesting. But then
Definitely.
they could be getting ready. You know, I'm gonna say that it isn't feasible, but it's more likely to happen in the summer,
Yep.
you know, than to happen during this window.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stories floating around, and strange stories, and I don't know. I mean, we've had all sorts, haven't we? You don't know what to make of it. It's really, really strange stuff. So yeah, it's just for me, it's all quite strange the way it's all panning out and the way everything's working out, and the players will look at it signing or not signing. But for me, it's difficult because there's conflicting reports all the time. We don't want anyone. Now we need somebody. We've got an injury. Now we need to sign a right back. Now we need to sign a left back. Now we need a centre half. Now we don't need anyone.
You know my feelings on
It's
it.
the whole situation's a bit messed up really at the moment.
What has confused me is, start of the window, you've got Ralph coming out and saying, yeah, we're open for business,
Yep.
we're definitely going to be doing something or other, right? And
Yep.
then the news about 10 days ago now,
Yep.
where because there's been a slight upturn in results, you know, or an upturn in results, you know, all of a sudden we don't need anybody. But the thing
right.
is, like I keep saying, come the summer, we've got 5 first team squad players that are out of contract, and I just can't see, you know, as a professional football club, why you wouldn't be looking at transfers and looking at it 1, 2, 3 windows in advance.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
But there you go. But we keep getting the same average, which I don't agree with, when they turn around and say, oh, it's difficult to plan because we don't know what division we're going to be in, right? but the thing is they have budgets. For, you would have a set budget even at the start of the season, because
Absolutely.
you're either going to be in the Championship, Premier League. But anyway, let's move on.
No, absolutely right. I mean, totally agree with that. So yeah, that's quite a comprehensive roundup of transfer news and gossip for the moment. So yeah, where do you want to go to next, Mark? Because we've got a few bits and pieces on the agendas for today.
Right,
We've got obviously.
Let's have a break, mate.
Get your weekly fix everything Southampton FC with Mark C and Mark H on the Two Saints Show.
Welcome back, everybody. And into the next topic for today, which is the subject we're bringing back, which we've not done for a while, our corner chat section of the show.
Yeah, we do a corner chat every so often.
And this week's corner chat is going to be, should we scrap the League Cup? Should we scrap the FA Cup, the 39th game, and Christmas Day football?
Right, so let me just encompass that for you. This came about through, this week we've had Pep Guardiola come out and suggest that one of the domestic cup competitions should be scrapped.
Yeah.
The League Cup and the FA Cup.
Yeah, this was via TalkSport, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I'm gonna broaden it out a bit.
Yep.
Because obviously the thing is I got talking to a friend during the week. We were sat talking on the phone, and he turned around and said to me, he said, when we said about the scrapping of both the cups, right, he turned around and he said to me, he said, the 39th game hasn't gone away yet, given the, basically, given the investment into the Premier League, a lot of the money's coming from the Middle East and the Far East and places like that. And he said to me, that one hasn't gone away. And also, he suggested to me that within 10 years, because Christmas Day isn't celebrated as much, he said you could have a scenario that they'd be playing matches on Christmas Day, and I was dismissive of it at first, but then I thought about it and thought, well, in the late, as far back as or the earliest period of time,
Yep.
in the 70s, early 70s, and certainly in the 60s and 50s,
Yep.
they played games on Christmas Eve,
Yep.
and then the return fixtures were played
Yep.
on the Boxing Day. So that doesn't seem as unplausible.
Right,
I have to say though, there is an element to me, Mark. Right, when Guardiola said it, he was talking about injuries.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
He was saying that the fixture list was too condensed.
Yep.
My counter argument to that is, you've got bigger squads of players
Yep.
than when you did even in the 70s
Yep,
and 50s.
absolutely.
They were having
100%.
right?
Yep.
Bigger squads,
Yep.
right? Sports science has moved on a hell
Yep.
of a lot as well
100%.
compared to
Absolutely, I
back
couldn't
then,
agree more.
You know?
Yep.
And I'm sat there thinking, you've got, there's teams in the Premier League with squads of 40 odd players.
Absolutely.
You're sat there thinking, they can't cope. I mean, basically, is he just talking about, I can't put my first team out, right? So,
He basically said what it was is he reckons that the busy festive period in English football is unsustainable, and a host of recent injuries to Premier League stars suggests he's right. Tottenham and Man United obviously lost Kane and Rashford respectively, long-term injuries. Man United already played 6 matches by the third full week of 2020, and Spurs at 5 for the year so far. Boo-hoo. Guardiola, who's City-side player 8 times in January, believes removing one competition would help the players' fitness and overall health. I'm not surprised by the injury, said the Catalan. With that number of games players break down, that's normal. Kane and Rashford, incredibly important players for England. The big administrators can't complain because it's normal that this happens. It's unsustainable. We demand a lot from the players. It's too much. We told them when we were with the Premier League they should reflect on it, but all managers complained about it. They don't care. Eliminate competitions, take them out. Less games, less competitions, less teams, more quality, less quantity. In the Bundesliga, there are 18 teams, not 20. One cup, not two. In Spain, they have a break. Fans will go to the theatre, to the cinema, restaurants. People can live without football for a while. That's not a problem. It's too much.
Right, okay. Let me,
So he's obviously alluded to the fact that it affects the England team.
There is a little bit of me in this, right? And I did say it when we were having the conversation. There's a little bit of me that sits there and thinks, when in Rome, do what the Romans do, right? I mean, okay, obviously Guardiola's opinion is sorted,
Yep.
right? But remember, he suggests, okay, so in the Bundesliga they play, 4 less games, right? Yeah?
Yep.
And in Spain they have a break. Are we not having a break this year for a week?
Well, I was under the impression that we were supposed to be getting a break.
Right.
So have I missed that at some point? I thought they were getting a winter break.
They are. But, but the thing is my argument is, so basically he's saying that even though Man City have 40 odd players,
Yep.
right, the squad isn't good enough, so he wants to be able to put out his first team in every game, right?
Well, that's great, but
don't get me wrong, right? We can have this argument all day long, right? Well, about cup competitions being devalued, right? Because teams are putting out second string teams, right?
Yeah.
But in essence, those teams that are being put out,
Yep.
you're still expecting them to beat lower league oppositions, because even if you're in a I'm going to use this word reserve team, there's no such a thing now.
No.
If you're in the backup 11, okay, if you're in the backup 11, right, reflecting your wages, and this is what I thought about, reflecting your wages to the wages, say, if you're playing a Burton Albion or even a Huddersfield Town, right, you're on more wages than what they're earning.
Absolutely.
So in essence, you should still be beating that side.
Yeah, and let's be honest, if you look at Man City's second stream team, for example, probably a third of the players that are in that Man City 11, the second 11, so to speak, would probably walk into most other Premier League teams in the lower half of the table.
Exactly. So
it doesn't stack up, does it?
If it was coming from someone else, if it was coming from a Sean Dyche, I'd probably listen more.
Yeah.
But it's coming from Guardiola, and you're sat there thinking, it doesn't ring true in this.
Yeah, but it's also coming from a manager whose team can't compete with Liverpool and are nowhere near them, isn't it?
I mean, one thing I will say is, right, and I accept this, okay, and I know I haven't got long on it, so I'm going to make it brief.
Carry on, mate.
But what I would say is, right, if I was a supporter of a lower league team, right, I get it, and as a manager I would want to be able to bring as many superstar players that, say, Saints have. Say Saints were playing Accrington Stanley, it almost happened last season in the FA Cup, right? So say we were playing them, right, I get it that the Accrington Stanley supporters would want to see the best team possible out on the pitch. And I think there is a duty to managers to do that where possible.
Yeah, definitely.
But, that's a different discussion to me than basically saying, we need to scrap the cup competitions, right, because people need the rest. You've got 40 odd players to pick from, 50 odd players. I'm thinking to myself, absolute nonsense. I mean, we played City in the cup, right, and they played. It was their midfield two was Phil Foden, right, and Mike Doyle. Was it Mike Doyle's son? I think it was Mike Doyle's son.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Who was a Man City legend, right? And he played. He's only 18, right?
Yep.
They were still too good for us,
Yep.
And I just, I would have took more notice if it had been coming from a lesser light that was down the bottom struggling. But the fact that it came from Guardiola, I'm a little bit dismissive of it, if I'm honest.
Well, it's also quite interesting it's coming from him on the back of the fact that Man City haven't been the force they've been previously this season. They've not been able to get anywhere near Liverpool. And they've been a shadow of the form themselves, haven't they? So this is all kind of off the back of that, and you kind of sat there going, really? A bit of bad feeling there, Peppers. There, are you feeling a bit inferior to everyone else because your team aren't performing the way you want them to?
But
they're not being well beat like they've been previously.
It does make you wonder, and I do think that at some point the 39th game will come back on the agenda.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
League.
Absolutely.
And that does worry me because I do think at that stage, even though I love football and I love Saints and I go home and away.
Yep.
I think at that stage,
you certainly put the mileage in.
I might turn around and say it's not for me anymore because we're actually being taken round the globe rather than the game being. I know we're not the English Premier League anymore; it's the Premier League now. But you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And I would definitely be thinking twice about going to games of football because I think it's going to be taken away. Becomes the global. It's already a global product, but taking games around the world's not for me.
Yep, no, I agree with that, Mark. So I think that sums it up quite nicely.
Get your weekly fix everything Southampton FC with Mark C and Mark H on the Two Saint Show. Fiesta 95 FM. The Two Saint Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Two Saints Show. Right, Mark, next topic for today, which is our review of Palace versus Saints.
Yeah, like I said in the intro, Pat, when you were doing the introductions, it was a Jekyll and Hyde week for Saints.
Certainly was.
For the Saints players and the Saints fans. And now we move on to the Jekyll.
Yeah.
On the Saturday, it was the Jekyll on Tuesday. And
you weren't quite sure how it was going to go, were you, before you got there, really?
This one, right? I mean,
you're looking to bounce back from the weekend.
First of all, it was Crystal Palace 0, Saints 2.
Yep.
And straight from the off, right? Saints were pushing so far up the pitch that Jack Stevens, Vestergaard were literally...
They're actually in the Palace half, weren't they?
They were encamped in the Palace half.
Literally sat on the halfway line.
And this went on for the majority of the first half, right?
Yep.
Obviously, second half it was a little bit different. We weren't as pushed up, right? But it was, and I've got to say one thing. Yes, Crystal Palace were missing, 4 or 5 of their key players. One of them was suspended, but at the end of the day you can only beat what people put in front of you, and too much reliance was on Wilfried Zaha, who funnily enough, Mark, right, you'll appreciate this, okay? So we have the injury, right, the Cedric, and I'm sitting there going, there's nobody on the bench, what's he going to do, right? So all of a sudden, I see James Ward-Prowse going over to the right-hand side, right? And even though I'm a big Prowse fan, right? I'm sat there going, please don't put him there. I had visions of Son, right, at Tottenham. That was the thing, right? I had visions of that, and I'm thinking, please don't put him there.
Yep.
Right? Boy, was I wrong. Right?
Interesting as well, because you might not have known this, but there was a lot of stuff apparently on social media before the game that Zaha was targeting Ward-Prowse, that he was going to have him.
Right, okay.
So you didn't know that before the game, obviously, but I've since read this today that apparently he was after him.
It was a reversal of that. I mean, he looked like he was trying to run away from him from the get-go, to be honest with you.
I saw one highlight actually.
It looked like he was trying to, even though they were playing off the same side, right? He was trying to avoid him at all costs. It was like, I don't want to get too close to you.
I'm glad you said it. I actually did see a clip actually before we came in today, and I loved it. It was absolutely hilarious, and I still find it funny now. I saw a little video, James Ward-Prowse over by the Saints fans taking a throw in, And the Saints fans are actually chanting he's got Zaha in his pocket.
Yeah.
And he actually pulls his shorts out and looks
He did it
before he
twice.
takes it. Brilliant, absolutely
He
brilliant.
did
I
it
thought it was
twice,
hilarious,
mate.
which was fantastic. I love that.
But
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
as I say, going back to the
Yep.
game, so we're in the first half. We're camped in their half, right? Creating opportunities, I would say. I wouldn't say there was definitively clear cut, but having a lot of the ball, obviously, they're unable to get out their half. And one of the Saints players who came in for a bit of criticism from me at the weekend, to be fair, right? But boy, did he bounce back. He got my man of the match, right? I mean, as I say, Jekyll and Hyde weekend, but you can't moan about the quality of the goals. I mean, just he absolutely hit it flush for me, and it rocketed in there. And you know, 2 of his goals already this season for me. The one at Chelsea
Yep.
would be the other one.
Yep.
You know, they're already on the short list for goal of the season.
Well, the thing is with Redmond as well, that one he actually scored against Crystal Palace. It was kind of Saints v Wolves take 2, wasn't it? Because he actually hit the bar with almost an identical shot against Wolves.
Yeah, very much.
And then obviously scored with this one. So it was kind of Wolves take 2, wasn't it, for Redmond? But he actually smashed it in, didn't he?
But it
Brilliant.
was much more of a clean strike.
I thought it was a better goal as well because he held the player off.
Yeah, I mean, there was a strange one because someone pulled me up about it. I don't know whether it was you or whether I have a funny feeling it was somebody who was speaking to.
Maybe.
But it was highlighted to me that the foul on Shane Long when they were jumping up, that was a penalty all day long, and I've subsequently seen what the person was talking about, because sometimes you get a good view of certain things.
Absolutely.
At Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
And then other times you don't. Down the sidelines are very difficult to see on the near side.
Yep.
If you're in the stands. But the other thing I was going to say was you had that, and then you had the second goal from Stuart Armstrong, which again was another clean strike.
Yep.
Richly deserved goal for him on the night.
Yeah, and I've got to be honest, Stuart Armstrong does not score tap-ins, does he?
No, it was apart from 1 or 2 blips from Vestergaard, and he himself did play well overall. To be fair,
Yep.
I think everybody played well. It was a good performance. I want to go back to the atmosphere, which I'll comment every so often on. Right, the last time we used this word was the review of Arsenal against Saints. Funnily enough, the 2-2, where I said to you that in the away end the atmosphere was raucous. Well, it was raucous obviously at Arsenal up until they scored right at the death of the penalty, and people were in party mood, celebratory mood, and it was very much raucous, and I love it when it's like that.
Absolutely.
It is party time, and the atmosphere was absolutely raucous in that away end on Tuesday night. It was fantastic.
Well, and in fairness,
and all the songs were coming out. I mean, some of which I was singing, some of which I can't bring myself to sing some of the stuff, right? Maybe that's me, but I have to say, when you're singing, we've still got Danny on the bench. That was quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure some of the other people out there enjoyed the, Jack Stevens, he's better than Cannavaro.
That one made me laugh.
So,
he's not better than Cannavaro. It's got a long way to go before that happens.
As I say, it was a great, and as I say, this is what's special about when you're travelling away, because I have to say that when we were doing the Man City trips away, and obviously it was the first one was on the back of the Leicester City 9-0, right? Because you question yourself, you know, after something like that, you do question stuff, and obviously I'd already got the ticket for City and all that, and the thing is tying it up into the Palace game, when you go the atmospheres and you see, and I wouldn't say it's everybody, but you see pockets of the support and how passionate they are, and everyone's singing and chanting. But when you have it as a unison, like at the Arsenal game, and particularly on Tuesday night, there's not a better atmosphere when you're in that away section and it's as raucous and there's camaraderie. It feels like you're part of a community.
Well, and in fairness, Mark, if
people talk about community going these days, you feel you're as one. You're as one, you know. There's no better feeling, mate. No better.
Well, with regards to the atmosphere being raucous, if Shane Long had put that opportunity in for the third, it would have been raucous even more, wouldn't it?
I mean,
great opportunity he had. Couldn't believe he missed it.
Funnily enough, right, I'm just going to say this, right. Of the players that are out of contract in the summer, right, Shane Long is the one that I think, out of all of them, I would possibly offer him a contract.
I think he's going to get one.
But the thing is he pains me so much, right? Because, like people say, he brings a lot to the party, works hard, don't doubt any of that. But the thing is you sit there and you think, he's a striker at the end of the day, goals are the bread and butter.
Yep.
It was not, it wasn't good to see it. And then you're still left with the dilemma, would I give him a contract, would I not give him a contract? I'm still verging on the sense of I would give him a contract, but it would be on reduced terms, you know? Because I do like Shane, and I think he works really hard as a team player.
Yeah, that's the important thing that a lot of people overlook with him, is the fact that he's a team player, and that's the key to it. He does do an awful lot of work for the team, and regards to like playing alongside Danny Ings, he's a player that Danny Ings seems to be able to play off of quite well.
Yes.
And he does hold the ball up quite well. So he doesn't score a lot of goals, and I give him that. But when he does score, they're usually quite good goals, to be fair. I mean, the one against the one at home recently obviously proves that, against Wolves. That's a fantastic header. Yeah, and I get it. People get frustrated because Shane doesn't score as many as he probably should, and he's a striker. But it's the other work he does, and you can't underestimate that. People used to comment on Pella and the amount of work he did. Ricky Lambert, the amount of work he did. You have to have players in your team that do work hard.
Yeah.
You won't always get the plaudits for not scoring a lot of goals as a striker, I get that. But a strike pairing is just that, it's a pairing, it's a partnership. And if Danny Ings is going to continue in the rich vein of form he is with Shane Long aside him, why not? If it works, you go with it.
Just to point out, James Ward-Prowse, on the way home, on our coach, got man of the match.
He actually got man of the match as well, according to the BBC website.
I just want to highlight...
And it said... He was putting the strings for Saints in the opening stages before an injury to Suarez saw him move to right back. However, he continued to influence the game from full back, getting forward at every opportunity, whilst he dealt with the threat of Wilfried Zaha as well.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is, again on Tuesday, you had waves where the ball was being closed down.
Yep.
Michael Omafemi, there's times whenever he's come on as a sub for Danny, and it hasn't looked like he was putting his weight.
Yep.
But then there's other times when you've seen him this season away at Chelsea.
Yep.
And again on Tuesday night.
Absolutely.
And he was putting a shift in, he was closing people down, but everybody was doing it. Much as you bang the drum for Danny Ings, as you know, in recent months I've been banging the drum for Stuart Armstrong.
Absolutely.
I think he brings something different.
Right, and as I said to you, Mark, a lot of people were struggling to understand who Stuart Armstrong came in for, and I said to you, I actually think they brought him in to replace Steve Davis.
Yeah, but he's so much more different.
Yeah, and he is, and I think that's the thing, they've added something there.
Steve Davis was a ball player who wasn't blessed, he isn't blessed with pace, right? The thing about Stuart Armstrong is, if you've got waves of players, so you've got Danny Ings, and he's a master at it, right? Closing the ball down from the front. Shane Long does it as well, right? And then behind that, you've got Stuart
Yep.
Armstrong, who comes just as far up to
Yep.
close the ball, because it's all about working in tandem.
100%.
Working
Yeah, it's
as a
units.
unit.
It's units. Yeah, it is units, and it's little units as well. What Saints were really good at on Tuesday was they kept breaking it down into little units.
Yeah.
So you had a unit up front, you had a unit in midfield, you had a unit to the left, a unit to the right, a unit at the back. They were all working as different units, but together as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think we can say they've done that in every game.
No.
That's part of the reason that a lot of people think it's a really good performance.
Well,
is simply
but
that.
when
You know, they
you're-
barely gave him a kick. Ralph Hasenhüttl said it's not easy to win there, which it isn't.
No.
Especially with the ball in the first half, they were fantastic. Very flexible, hard to defend against. Absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Created loads of chances. It was only 1-0. Really surprising about that. Roy Hodgson said, long way below our standards. Saints played really well. I think it was a game too far for us. Whatever he says there, really, I just feel we outplayed them. I didn't think we gave them a chance to play.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen an away team dominate a team as much at home this season.
No.
Especially Crystal Palace. They don't get dominated at home very often. Not to that extent.
No. All I would say is I still think Leicester away was our best performance, because just in terms of the opportunities we had,
Yeah.
all right, we didn't capitalise on a lot of them, but you know, we were playing the team that was
Yep.
third in the league. But having said that, it was a very, very impressive display.
Well, I also thought as well, given that we're up against Liverpool next, and I've got to be honest, as optimistic as I am, this is Liverpool, who've been in phenomenal form this season, almost untouchable.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying Saints can't go there and put a performance in, but I think even if they put in as good a performance as they did against Leicester or against Palace, it's going to be a real challenge to get anything from that. So I'm glad they got the points against Palace, which lifted us up to 9th. Fantastic. I didn't think we'd be sat at this time of year saying we're 9th in the table after the way it started.
No, I didn't, mate. I mean,
But
all
the good thing is we get Tottenham in the cup next. If we beat them, you're going to be absolutely buoyant going to Anfield, aren't you? So to be fair, if we manage to scrape anything at Anfield, the fans will be absolutely in raptures, won't they?
yeah, no, without a
And
doubt.
there's a chance we could do it, but I genuinely believe that Liverpool are going to be too much.
All I would say is, and you know me, it's slowly
Yep,
catching
absolutely.
up to me.
Yep.
Um,
And I don't want to get carried away. As good as it is at the moment, we need at least 3 more wins, minimum.
Basically, I won't look at
Yep.
the table or start looking up the table, I should say,
Yep.
until we read
Yep.
the magic total.
Yep.
And I'm going to state, for me, it's 41.
Yep.
You know, I know other people will say 40, but I'm going to say 41. If we reach that total, then I'll start talking about all the stuff
For me, it's.
that goes on
Yep.
social
Yep.
media when people start losing their
Well,
mind.
I'll be honest, Mark. For me, it's 4 wins. It's 4 wins.
But Mark, we spoke about it today, right? This season is a mirror to the 2015-2016 season when Leicester won the title, right?
Yep.
Because all the standards of the so-called top 6 were dropping, right?
Yep.
The thing is I looked at it, okay? Much as I sit there and I'm critical of our home form, and I'm still
Yep.
critical now, but somebody said to me, he said, if our home form mirrored our away form,
Yep.
this was coming back from Crystal Palace, we'd be comfortably second in the table.
Yeah.
And the thing is if you even look at the top sides, they're all struggling to win
Yep,
at home.
absolutely.
Chelsea,
Yep.
you know,
It's definitely a season for away form, isn't
the
it?
thing is, I do think it is an opportunity. This season's definitely an opportunity for the lesser sides.
Yep,
Look at
definitely.
Leicester,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Champions League,
Yep.
and the lesser sides, you know, for Europa League. But
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't want to start, and I'm not
No.
going to start that conversation on this show with you.
Yep.
Until we reach that 41.
For me, Mark,
we'll
it's-
have all the conversations you want to have
Absolutely.
when we're in
Yep.
Dreamland.
Well, for me, it's 4 wins.
Yeah.
We have to win 4 more, and then I'll be having the conversation you're having.
Yeah, we'll be having the conversation.
Yep. 4 wins for me. That's 43 points. That's me personally. That's just
well,
my.
that would make the ultra safe. That all I'd say is the highest ever total to go down from the Premier League was 42,
Yep.
and that was West Ham in
Yep.
about 2003-04.
I mean, and for me, I think it's dangerous to set targets. Now, if I was Ralph, I wouldn't be saying to the players, let's hit 40 points. I'd just be saying, let's see how many of these last however many games it is we can actually win.
Yeah.
That would be what I'd be saying to them.
Definitely.
Not, let's set a target. It would be, see how many of these games we can win out of the last 14 or however many it
I
is.
found it strange that he said he wouldn't be having, I told you this on the way down the car. They had a media day last Friday, I think it was, and he said he would be having conversations about new contracts with players that are out of contract in the summer or the following summer until they've got the 36 points. And I'm thinking, well, that ain't enough. But like I said, I would, if it was me, I wouldn't personally offer any of them a contract apart from maybe Shane Long.
So, we've got a few minutes left. Let's move on to the preview of the Tottenham Cup game, shall we?
For this one, because as I said at the top of the show, Mark was at the game with me on Saturday when we lost, right? And for unfortunate, I'll give him his due. He came to Huddersfield with me in the FA Cup, so I'm hoping he's going to keep his run going in the FA Cup at least. I've usually been quite lucky when it comes to the FA Cup with Saints, so fingers crossed it keeps going on Saturday. Definitely.
Because we had pretty good run in 2003 that I was there for most of the round, so if we can carry on in that vein, I'll be quite happy with that. But yeah, for me, I'm quite looking forward to Saturday, to be honest. I was a little bit deflated after the Wolves game, but I felt first half really good, second half not quite as good. But I mean, if we can go out and perform as well as we've been capable of performing, and we put a strong enough team out, I actually fancy us getting a result.
I do, but there's a caveat to it.
I was going to say,
I think this tie for me now is one of the ties of the round.
Yep.
It's going to kind of work both ways. I think we need to put a stronger team out, probably, than what Ralph might put out on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue.
Because let me just, and then you can come in. But all I was going to say, Mark, was with Mourinho taking over there, and I don't know whether I've discussed this with you or not, my feeling is, right, that he will put his eggs in the one basket, so to speak. You know, Champions League looks distant for them at the minute. Harry's injured. Whether to bring in a striker or not is debatable. You know, they only got their first win of 2020 last night, and all that in the one basket. I would say to you, I think he's going to prioritise the FA Cup, right? For the simple reason that he can sit there at the end of the season, turn around and say, I've won you a trophy. It's something that Pochettino didn't achieve in 5 or 6 years at the football club.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's going to sit there and go, right, well, I can turn around at the end of the season and go, well, my first season with you lot, we've won a trophy.
So there is an oracle, but at the same time, I feel the same way you do. I feel if we perform the way we have been, and if Ralph, I'm worried that he'll put out slightly a weaker team than what you and I would want to see on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Mark, cup runs and cup competitions are a really good way for lesser teams to actually to get European football if you can't do it for a league. And for me, we all want to be in the next round. Yeah. And for me, he's got to put out his strongest team. And I understand we don't want injuries and we want to focus on the league, and I get that. But for me, he's got to put his strongest team out now.
Mark, it's the FA Cup. Yeah. I'd be calling for an irrespective of what
100%. I agree, 100%.
And the other thing I would say,
my only concern is,
caveat to that is Danny Ings starts because he only played 15 minutes on Tuesday night. So you know,
for me, the biggest issue for me is obviously last time we played Tottenham, no Son in the team.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's available this time.
Yeah.
Now obviously he is.
He will be.
I would argue without Harry Kane, he's their biggest threat.
Oh yeah. And he's the mainstay.
Yeah. And unfortunately for us, every time he plays against Saints, he's dynamite. Yeah. So we've really got to do a job on him. I think if we perform like we did against Crystal Palace, I don't have any qualms about the fact we'll get a result. And against Leicester as well, we have to replicate. We have to replicate that intensity. That's what we need to focus on. Yeah. If we can replicate that, it's a result. Simple as. So we'll find out when we're sat next week how it went. But for me, it's the Saints win. I'm going with. I
almost thought you were going to give us a.
Well, I actually think we drew a decent result at home, and I'm actually going 3-1 Saints. And I reckon Son's going to score for Tottenham. Oh, and I reckon they'll score first, but I'm going 3-1.
I think it's going to be slightly more edgy, and this is purely based on Tuesday. On the back of Tuesday, I'm going for 2-1, the Saints. But
Okay,
anyway,
fair enough.
So
Sounds good to me.
I take it that wraps it up.
That is, that's wrapped up the whole show for
So
today.
basically, I just want to say, I know it was a different time today. I hope you were patient with us. I hope you enjoyed the show. And I want to thank every listener out there for taking the trouble to listen in to
Absolutely.
two amateurs,
Absolutely.
discussing what their passion is.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you everyone
I
for
hope
tuning
you
in.
continue to listen. If
Absolutely.
you thought it was worth a worthwhile 2 hours spent, then
Absolutely.
please listen in again.
Yep, look out for us on Facebook and Twitter. Look out for us on the Saints Archive page. We quite often drop in and put something on there to keep your eyes peeled. And obviously get involved in future shows. Tune in on Fiesta 95 FM, 12 to 2 p.m. every Thursday.
So all I want to say is, it's goodbye from him.
That's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.